Goals are like lottery tickets. You buy one and fantasize about the jackpot, and for a moment you feel rich. You feel like your life is about to change, but 9 times out of 10, you end up with a useless piece of paper and a head full of disappointment. Every January, you probably make a list of big, shiny goals. Get fit. Start a business. Be happier. You write it down. Maybe you even buy a fresh whiteboard or a fancy planner because, hey, this year's gonna be different, right? You feel fired up, motivated, inspired, like the main character of a Netflix coming au fag montage. But then, 2 weeks in, the whiteboard is collecting dust. Your gym bag is shoved in the trunk of your car. That business idea is rotting in your notes app. And suddenly, you're back in the same old cycle, doom-scrolling TikTok, binge-watching YouTube, wondering why you never stick to anything, and that's when the guilt starts creeping in. You start asking yourself, why can't I stay consistent? Why do I always fall off? Am I just lazy? No, you're not lazy. You're not broken. You just bought into the biggest productivity scam of our generation. The obsession with goals. Because here's the truth. Goals without systems are just delusions with deadlines. Think about it. You don't need more motivation. You don't need another pump-up video or some cheesy vision board with pictures of Lambos and six-packs. What you actually need is automation. You don't need bigger goals. You need better defaults. You don't need to chase after a version of yourself you don't even recognize yet. You need to design a daily system that makes becoming that person inevitable. Goals are wishful thinking. Systems are self-fulfilling prophecies. You've been brainwashed into believing that setting a goal is the same thing as making progress. It's not. It's procrastination in disguise. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Every single time. And that's exactly why your goals fail you, which is where we're headed next. Why goals fail? Every damn time. Every year, millions of people set goals. And every year, millions of people fail at those exact same goals. Think about it. If goals actually worked, gyms would be packed all year round. But they're not. They're only full for the first 2 weeks of January. After that, empty treadmills, dusty dumbbells, a graveyard of broken promises. If goals actually worked, everyone with "start a business" written on their vision board would be a millionaire by now. Spoiler, they're not. They're still watching how to get rich videos at 2 a.m. So here's the uncomfortable truth nobody likes to admit. It's not that you're weak. It's not that you lack discipline. It's that goals are fundamentally broken. And here's why. 1. Goals are emotion-based, not process-based. A goal is basically you scribbling down a feeling you want to have in the future. Lose 10 kilos. Make 100K. Be happier. Cool. But let me ask you this. How exactly? When? How often? With what actions? With what systems backing it up? See, a goal is like saying, I want to win the marathon. Great. But if you don't lace up your shoes every day and run, then guess what? That goal is just a cute daydream. And that's why goals feel so good in the moment, because they trick your brain into thinking you've already done something. Writing "I'll be a millionaire" in your journal gives you a dopamine hit, but it doesn't make a single dollar appear in your bank account. Goals make you feel like you're progressing, even when you've done absolutely nothing. 2. Goals create winners and losers. Here's the part nobody talks about. Goals don't actually separate successful people from unsuccessful people. Think about it. Every Olympic runner shows up wanting to win gold. Every single one. They all share the same goal. But only one gets the medal. So was the goal the deciding factor? No, because they all had it. What separated the winner wasn't the goal. It was the system, their daily training, their nutrition, their rest, their recovery, their relentless repetition. So when you say, my goal is to be successful, congratulations. You've just joined the same club as literally everyone else. That's not special. That's not unique. That's not what's going to separate you from the pack. A goal is just an entry ticket. The system is the race. 3. Goals. Delay happiness. This is the most toxic side effect of goals, and it might be the one that hurts you the most. When you live by goals, you wire your brain to think, I'll be happy when I lose 10 kilos. I'll finally feel good about myself when I make 6 figures. I'll finally relax when I get that promotion. Do you see the problem? You just pushed happiness into the future. You're saying, I don't deserve it yet. I'll deserve it later. That's why so many high achievers look successful on the outside, but are secretly miserable inside. They've been dangling happiness like a carrot in front of their own face. They reach one goal, and instead of celebrating, they just move the finish line. That's the trap. Goals keep you living in when. Systems keep you living in now. Because when you've got a system, you get to win daily. You get to feel good about stacking the tiny actions that move you forward. You don't wait until the trophy to feel worthy. You feel it every single time you stick to the process. 4. Goals are temporary. Habits are identity. Here's the final nail in the coffin. Goals expire. Habits don't. Let me show you. If your goal is run a marathon, cool. Maybe you'll train, maybe you'll cross the finish line. And then what? You hang the medal on the wall and never run again? You're back to square one. But if your system is, I'm the kind of person who runs every morning, then it doesn't matter if there's a marathon or not. You're a runner. Period. That's your identity now. And identity lasts longer than any finish line. This is why most diets fail. Someone's goal is lose 20 pounds, so they starve themselves, or do some crazy juice cleanse, or hop on the latest TikTok fad. Sure, maybe they lose the weight, but then the diet ends, and they go back to their old habits, and the weight comes back with friends, because the goal was temporary. The system wasn't there. If instead you build the system, I'm someone who eats real food and trains 3 times a week, then weight loss is automatic. It's not even the focus anymore. It's just a side effect of who you've become. So let's just say it how it is. Goals are fragile. Goals are inconsistent. Goals are emotional band-aids that cover up the fact that you don't have a system. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Because now the real question is this. If goals are trash, then what actually works? And that's where systems come in. The silent engine that powers real success. What are systems? And why they secretly win every time. All right, we've trashed goals. We've ripped them apart. But here's the part that matters. If goals are broken, what replaces them? Because you can't just walk around life with no direction. You can't just say, well, goals don't work. Guess I'll just vibe my way through existence. No. You need structure. You need a machine that quietly pulls you forward even when you're tired, distracted, or flat out not in the mood. That machine is your system. Think of it this way. A goal is a finish line. A system is the treadmill that keeps you running every single day without stopping. One ends the moment you cross it. The other keeps you moving forever. And here's the kicker. Systems don't just beat goals. They make goals irrelevant. Let's break down why. 1. Systems are repeatable actions that ignore motivation. Here's the biggest myth you've been sold. You just need more motivation. No, you don't. Motivation is like a cheap sugar high. It spikes, then it crashes, and leaves you worse than before. Systems are the antidote. Because systems don't care about motivation. They don't need you to feel like it. Imagine this. Your system is, I write 1 page every morning at 7 a.m. It doesn't matter if you're tired. It doesn't matter if you're inspired. It doesn't matter if you think your writing sucks today. The system says you sit down. You write. That's it. And here's the sneaky part. On the days you don't feel like it, the system carries you. It's like a conveyor belt. Once you step on, it moves you forward whether you're ready or not. That's why systems always win. They're consistent. They're repeatable. They ignore your moods. 2. Systems create identity. This is the secret nobody talks about. When you follow a system, you stop being someone who wants something. You become someone who is something. Look at the difference. A goal says, I want to write a book. A system says, I'm a writer. I write every day. The first one is temporary. The second one is identity. Identity is powerful because once you believe it about yourself, your brain hates breaking that pattern. If you tell yourself, I'm a runner, then skipping a run feels like you're betraying your identity. And guess what? We humans are hardwired to defend our identities. Systems turn habits into who you are, not just what you do. And when it's who you are, it sticks. 3. Systems give you feedback loops. Goals are binary. You either hit them or you don't, win or lose, success or failure, which sounds fine, until you realize how toxic that is. Because the moment you fail at a goal, your brain screams, see? You suck. You'll never make it. And that's when people quit. Systems flip the script. Instead of judging yourself on the final outcome, you're focused on the daily reps. You don't ask, did I win? You ask, what worked today? What didn't? How do I tweak the system? It's like running experiments instead of taking exams. One failure doesn't kill you, it teaches you. And that feedback loop compounds. Each tiny tweak makes the system smarter, sharper, more effective. That's how real growth happens. Not in giant leaps, but in tiny adjustments stacked daily. 4. Systems. Progress without pressure. Here's the most underrated part. Systems make progress feel light. No pressure. No big drama. When you live by goals, everything feels heavy. Every failure feels like you're off track. Every day you don't make progress. You feel behind, like you're losing some invisible race. But when you live by systems, progress feels automatic. You stop chasing results and start stacking wins, even small ones, especially small ones. It's like this. If your goal is learn guitar, then every day you're not shredding like Hendrix, you feel like a failure. But if your system is practice for 15 minutes every evening, then every strum is a win. Every session builds momentum. And before you know it, you're good. Not because you set a giant goal, but because your system carried you there quietly. That's the beauty of systems. They take the pressure knob and turn it way, way down. You don't live for the big breakthrough. You live for the tiny daily victories that add up to something unstoppable. So let's get this straight. Systems ignore motivation. Systems build your identity. Systems give you constant feedback. And systems make progress automatic. That's why the people who seem disciplined aren't actually disciplined at all. They're just smart. Enough to build systems that make discipline irrelevant. So now the real question becomes, how do you actually build a system? Not some vague, wake up early, hustle harder nonsense. I mean practical, real-world systems that actually stick. That's exactly what we're diving into next. How to build a system that works like a machine. All right, so you get it now. Goals? Trash. Systems? Gold. But let me guess. There's a little voice in your head whispering, cool theory, but how do I actually do this? Because here's the trap. Most people hear about systems, nod their heads, feel inspired, and then go right back to scribbling "be productive" on a sticky note. That's not a system. That's just a motivational slogan pretending to be a plan. So let's break this down in a way your brain can't wiggle out of. We're gonna build a system that works like a machine, predictable, repeatable, bulletproof. Even when you're tired, even when you're lazy, even when Netflix drops a new season of your favorite show and you'd rather rot on the couch. Here's how you do it, step by step. Step 1. Choose the identity, not the outcome. The first mistake people make when building systems is they still start with goals. I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to make 10K a month. I want to write a book. That's still goal thinking. That's still chasing. Instead, start with identity. Who do you actually want to become? Don't say, I want to lose weight. Say, I'm the kind of person who never skips a workout. Don't say, I want to write a book. Say, I'm the kind of person who writes every single day. Don't say, I want to be rich. Say, I'm the kind of person who creates value and manages money wisely. See the difference? One expires. The other compounds. One makes you chase results. The other rewires who you are. Because here's the truth. You don't rise to the level of your dreams. You sink to the level of your identity. So pick an identity worth becoming. Step 2. Shrink it till it's stupid. Simple. Here's where most people blow it. They overcomplicate. They try to build a NASA-level system for a problem that just needs a post-it note. They say, I'm going to run 5 miles every morning at 5 a.m. Okay. Except you haven't even walked around your block in months. Or they say, I'm going to write 2,000 words every day. Except they haven't opened their notes app in 6 weeks. So what happens? They fail. They get discouraged, and the system collapses. The fix? Shrink it until it's laughably small. Want to write? Start with 1 sentence a day. Want to run? Just put on your shoes and step outside. That's it. Want to meditate? Start with 2 minutes. Make it so simple your brain has 0 excuses. Because here's the psychology. Consistency beats intensity. Always. 1 page a day turns into a book. 1 push-up a day turns into a fit body. $1 saved a day turns into wealth. Your system doesn't need to impress anyone. It just needs to survive. Step 3. Use triggers and environments. Now here's where it gets better. You can't rely on willpower. Willpower is weak. It leaks. It fades. Instead, you design your environment to pull you into the system automatically. This is called a trigger. A trigger is just a signal that says, do the thing. Examples. Leave your journal on your pillow so you can't go to bed without writing in it. Put your running shoes right by the door so you trip over them in the morning. Want to eat healthier? Don't stock your house with garbage food. If it's not in reach, it's not in your mouth. Most people say they're lazy, but what they really are is environmentally stupid. They're trying to resist cookies while living in a house full of Oreos. That's not discipline. That's sabotage. You don't fight your environment. You rig it. You design it so the easiest option is the right one. Step 4. Track the chain, not the trophy. This is where systems get addictive. When you chase goals, you're chasing a trophy that might be years away. That's exhausting. But when you chase systems, you can track the chain. Here's how it works. Every day you complete your action. Your 1 page, your 15 minutes, your workout, you mark it on a calendar. You get a streak going, a chain. Now the game isn't about reaching the goal. The game is, don't break the chain. And suddenly, the dopamine flips. You start craving the streak more than the outcome. It feels good to see that line of wins stack up. It feels bad to see a gap. Your brain is now hooked, not on the fantasy of success, but on the system itself. That's how you turn discipline into autopilot. So here's the formula. Choose the identity. Shrink it down. Design the triggers. Track the chain. That's it. That's how you build a system that runs like a machine. Not because you're superhuman. Not because you've got iron willpower. But because you've rigged your life so success becomes the default. And once you do that, the results stop being something you chase. They become something you attract. But maybe you're thinking, okay, this sounds nice in theory, but does it actually work in real life? Well, let me show you some examples. People who built systems, stuck to them, and changed everything because of it. That's where we're going next. Real-life examples of systems that quietly crush goals. All right, let's make this real. Because right now you might be thinking, okay, cool. Systems sound nice in theory, but do they actually work? Like, in real life? For actual people? And the answer is absolutely. In fact, every success story you admire is really just a story of systems, not goals. Let me show you. Example 1. James Clear, the writer who systemized his way into a bestseller. You've probably heard of the book Atomic Habits. If not, spoiler, it's one of the best-selling self-development books of all time. Millions of copies sold, translated into dozens of languages. It's basically a global phenomenon. Now here's the thing. James Clear, the author, didn't start out with a giant goal like, I'm going to write the most influential book of the decade. That wasn't the plan. What he did instead was build a system. He made a simple rule. Publish 2 articles per week on his website. Rain or shine. No matter what. Sometimes the articles were short. Sometimes they weren't perfect. But the system was the same. 2 articles every single week. And here's what happened. Writing weekly made him sharper. Feedback from readers helped him improve. His ideas got clearer with every article. His audience grew naturally. And over time, those articles stacked up into a body of work. That body of work turned into insights. Those insights turned into atomic habits. The book wasn't the goal. The book was the byproduct of the system. And now, he didn't just hit a goal, he built an identity. James Clear isn't a guy who wrote a book. He's a writer. Example 2. Mr. Beast, the YouTube king of systems. Let's talk about YouTube royalty. Mr. Beast. Most people see his massive success today, the crazy giveaways, the wild stunts, the billions of views, and think, wow, this guy must have had huge goals. But if you go back, the truth is way less glamorous and way more powerful. As a teenager, Mr. Beast didn't set a goal like, I want to be the biggest YouTuber in the world. Instead, he built a system. He and a small group of friends obsessed over YouTube analytics every single day. They studied click-through rates. They experimented with thumbnails. They tested pacing, retention, titles. It wasn't about chasing a viral video. It was about running daily experiments, tiny tweaks, constant iteration. And that system, the obsessive feedback loop of study, create, analyze, repeat, compounded over years. Years of videos that didn't go viral. Years of learning in the shadows. Until eventually, the system paid off. Now he's not just successful. He's untouchable. Because his system of experimentation is so dialed in, success is inevitable. Mr. Beast isn't great because he had a goal. He's great because he had a machine. Example 3. Japanese students, the system of spaced repetition. Let's zoom out from individuals and talk about culture for a second. Ever wonder why Japanese students are often insanely sharp in subjects like math, language, and memory-heavy skills? It's not because they're magically smarter. It's because of their system. They don't cram for tests the way Western students do. They don't wait until the last minute to binge a semester's worth of material in one caffeine-fueled panic session. Instead, they use something called spaced repetition. It's a system where you review small chunks of information daily, then space out the review intervals so the knowledge actually sticks in long-term memory. Think flashcards, but designed with math-level precision. Day 1, learn it. Day 3, review it. Day 7, test it again. Day 14, test again. It's boring. It's unglamorous. But it works like compound interest. Over time, knowledge piles up. It becomes unshakable. That's why a Japanese student can recall material effortlessly months or even years later, while a Western student forgets 90% of what they crammed the week after the test. The system beats the sprint every single time. Example 4. Warren Buffett, the oracle of systems. Now let's bring in one of the richest men on the planet, Warren Buffett. Buffett didn't become a billionaire by setting a single giant goal like, I want to be rich. He became a billionaire because he built a system of consistent investing. His system is boring, mind-numbingly boring. Buy companies with strong fundamentals. Hold them for decades. Don't panic. Don't overreact. Stick to the plan. That's it. No get-rich-quick schemes. No lottery ticket thinking. Just a system repeated relentlessly for over half a century. And the crazy part? The older he gets, the more powerful his system becomes. Because compounding doesn't just grow, it snowballs. Buffett isn't rich because he chased money. He's rich because his system made wealth a mathematical certainty. So whether it's a best-selling author, the biggest YouTuber alive, entire school systems, or billionaires, the pattern is the same. They didn't rely on goals. They relied on systems. Systems that carried them through the boring days. Systems that made success automatic. Systems that turned dreams into inevitabilities. So let me ask you this. If systems are the secret weapon behind every major success story, what would happen if you built one for yourself? That's exactly what we're going to map out in the final section. A step-by-step blueprint to burn your goal sheets and replace them with a system map that actually makes success inevitable. The final blow, burn the goal sheets. Build your system map. All right, grab those goal sheets. All the scribbles, the New Year's resolutions, the big fancy lists of things you swore you'd accomplish this year. Now, in your mind, or heck, in real life, if you're feeling bold, I want you to crumple them up. Rip them, burn them, toss them in the trash. Because those pieces of paper, they were never your plan. They were just your wish list. And I don't want you living off wish lists. I want you building machines. Machines that work every day. Machines that run even when you're not in the mood. Machines that make winning inevitable. That's what a system map is. And we're about to build yours. Step 1. Identify one identity you want to build. This is where most people screw it up. They try to chase 5 different goals at once. I want to get fit, start a business, fix my sleep, learn Spanish, and become enlightened by June. Yeah, good luck with that. That's not ambition. That's self-sabotage dressed as productivity. Instead, pick one identity to build right now. Just one. Ask yourself, who do I actually want to become first? Do you want to be the kind of person who's fit? The kind of person who's calm under pressure? The kind of person who's financially free? The kind of person who's insanely creative? Circle 1. Claim it. That's your North Star. Because remember, when you build an identity, goals stop mattering. The system does the heavy lifting. Step 2. Define the daily minimum action. Now that you've picked your identity, forget the flashy dream outcome. Forget 6-pack abs or 100K business. Your job is to shrink it into the minimum viable win. Ask yourself, what's the smallest daily action that proves I'm becoming this person? Want to be a writer? Write 1 paragraph a day. Want to be fit? Do 20 push-ups or take a 15-minute walk. Want to be financially free? Save $5 or track 1 expense. Want to be calmer? Meditate for 2 minutes. That's it. That's your proof. You don't need fireworks. You just need undeniable evidence every single day that you're already living the identity you chose. Because here's the secret. Minimum actions stack. 1 paragraph turns into pages. 1 walk turns into runs. $1 turns into thousands. That's the system compounding silently, relentlessly. Step 3. Set the trigger and time. Now we wire it into your life. Because if you just say, yeah, I'll do it sometime today, guess what? Sometime never comes. Instead, lock it down. Anchor it. Pick a trigger and a time. After I brush my teeth, I'll meditate for 2 minutes. At 7 a.m. sharp, I'll open my notebook and write 1 page. After dinner, I'll take a 15-minute walk. Triggers are powerful because they eliminate thinking. Thinking is dangerous. Thinking is where excuses creep in. With triggers, the system becomes automatic. It's not about motivation anymore. It's about rhythm. Step 4. Track streaks, not results. Here's where the dopamine hack comes in. Don't track your weight. Don't track your bank balance. Don't obsess over follower counts. That stuff is slow and discouraging. Instead, track your streak. Every time you complete your daily action, mark it on a calendar. Build the chain. The new game isn't achieve the goal. The new game is don't break the chain. And suddenly, progress becomes addictive. You don't want to ruin that beautiful streak. You don't want to snap the chain. And even if the result hasn't shown up yet, the streak tells you the system is alive. The system is working. Step 5. Iterate the system. Don't abandon it. This is the part where most people give up. They try a system for 2 weeks, something goes wrong, and they throw the whole thing in the trash. Wrong move! Systems aren't meant to be perfect. They're meant to be adjusted. Didn't stick to your system? Ask why. Was it too big? Shrink it. Was the trigger weak? Pick a stronger one. Was the environment sabotaging you? Redesign it. You don't abandon the system. You tweak the system. Because remember, systems are feedback loops. The only way they fail is if you stop running the experiment. So here's the final blow. Forget goals. Burn them, trash them, walk away. Because goals are just promises you keep breaking. Systems are rituals. Systems are identities. Systems are the scaffolding that builds the version of you you've always wanted to become. You don't have to wait for January. You don't have to wait for someday. You can start today, tonight, right now. Pick the identity. Shrink the action. Set the trigger. Track the streak. Iterate the system. That's it. That's the whole game. Let the world chase goals like gamblers chasing a jackpot. You're building a printing press, a machine, a system that never stops. And when people ask you how you did it, you'll just smile. Because you'll know. You didn't hit a goal. You became the system. Now let's get to the part where we separate the talkers from the doers. Because it's easy to nod along right now and think, yeah, system sounds smart. But if you close this video and just go back to scrolling, nothing changes. So here's my challenge to you. Don't wait. Don't make it a Monday thing. Don't make it a New Year thing. Pick one system today. Just one. Decide the identity. Shrink the action. Lock in the trigger. And then comment below and tell me what system you're building. Why? Because saying it out loud makes it real. And when you write it down here, you're not just telling me, you're making a pact with yourself. To the invitation, community plus future promise. And hey, this channel isn't about empty motivation speeches. It's not about making you feel good for 5 minutes and then abandoning you. This is where we build weapons-grade systems together. This is where we tear apart the nonsense, torch the fake productivity hacks, and rebuild habits that actually work. So if you want this to be the year where you stop chasing goals and finally build an identity that sticks, hit that subscribe button. Not because it's what YouTubers say, but because this is where we're building the anti-goal movement. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. And one more thing. If you really want to prove you're not just here to lurk, drop this in the comments. I don't set goals. I build systems. That's the signal. That's how we know you're one of us. And when you type that out, you'll feel it click. You're not just chasing anymore. You're building. Now, go burn your goal sheets. And I'll see you in the next video.